Hello everybody and welcome to Round 3 Reviews, back with more Hong Kong content, and today we're doing not Shaw Brothers, not 88 films, we're doing more Category 3. Out of all the films I could have chosen, all the things I could have reviewed on my glorious collection, I chose to seek out The Cat from the director of Story of Ricky and Erotic Ghost Story. I mean, what is going on? I think Hong Kong Blues will be very, very happy with me right now. Yes, I've decided to check out The Cat, released in 1992. This film is about a cat from outer space. Let's get on with it. As mentioned, The Cat was released in 1992, directed by the guy who did Story of Ricky and Erotic Ghost Story. So he did Erotic Ghost Story in 1991, Story of Ricky, and his final film being this one. I believe the director has passed away, if I'm being corrected. Which is quite a mad trilogy to kind of go on, an unofficial sort of trilogy, 3 very different types of films to kind of end your kind of reign on, in a sense. He's done a lot of movies before this. Very curious to check out more of his films. They seem really kind of bonkers. I know he did the Peacock King and the sequel to that. I know he's done a film like a Tango and Cash rip-off. I think he's done The Seven Curse. There seems to be quite a few films on his library and his belt that I think are getting some kind of treatment now. I need to get some 88 film treatment for sure. And I'm very curious to check out more of his films because he definitely is a director that I can give a lot of credit to, in the sense he just commits to his films, in the sense, you know, watching all 3 of these films in the span of a couple of months kind of thing, I can see his attention to detail, I can see his commitment to the ludicrous nature of some of these kind of projects, and you know, he is very consistent with his kind of style and his kind of attention to detail, and this film is no different. This film is completely bonkers, just like the other 2 movies and probably some of the others that I haven't seen yet, and he just goes for it, and I can give it a lot of credit. Category 3 is fantastic and kind of just wonderful to kind of watch if the films commit, if they just kind of go for it. There's a reason why I like Naked Killer, because there actually was a script there and he just added on Category 3 elements to it and just went for it. And same with kind of Story of Ricky, and same with The Cat as well. I actually did really enjoy this and do this kind of 80s kind of homage to like The Blob and Terminator and kind of Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Hidden, and just make this crazy batshit movie, and it's pretty glorious, to say the least. Yeah, I decided to take this film on a whim. My friend kind of told me about it, and I got in an actual kind of conversation as we were watching Ricky O again, and I was very curious and I wanted to check it out, and I thought, let's see if I can try and seek it out, let's see if I can try and find it. Managed to find it, and yeah, this film is completely bonkers. It is classic Category 3 nonsense. Not as extreme as I thought it would be, kind of thing. He definitely is that kind of wild, kind of crazy, kind of, you know, kind of 80s practical effects, but really fun, really kind of like, you know, really out there kind of special effects. The story follows our main character, played by Wesley, who is basically a detective. He's a novelist who's basically writing his next novel based on the events that have taken place over the past couple of days. And for the first kind of half an hour of the film is only about 90 minutes, to keep in mind, is quite weird in kind of its structure. It's kind of come from his kind of point of view. The way he tells it is very much from like a novelist kind of narration type view kind of thing. He kind of tells, like, he kind of sets up the scene. He kind of tells what happens in these kind of specific kind of, you know, scenarios. And I think the first half of the film is a bit slow going. It kind of takes its time to kind of get moving. There is some pretty good stuff in it. It's kind of like the first portion of it is kind of like mini sort of like episodes, or a little bit of mini introductions kind of thing to the characters, like our main kind of the cat and the kind of supporting actress in the film, which is Gloria Yip, which I think is the sister of Amy Yip, which I believe that is correct, which makes a lot of sense because she was also in Story of Ricky, and she's been in a lot of other movies from the director also. So she is the kind of the guardian. She's also an alien as well. There's kind of guardian, this cat, and you've got a few supporting characters with her as well. They're the good people. They are basically come from a star that's been infected by a dark energy, a dark force, very, very reminiscent of the Hidden. This film basically is the Hidden rip-off 80s Hong Kong movie version of it, which is funny because if you've seen the Hidden, it's practically the exact same story. It has a couple of really crazy out there practical effects, just kind of going for it moments kind of thing, with the museum trying to get this artifact. And in the midst of all this, we have this cat, this black cat with these really beaming kind of yellow eyes, and it has powers. It is a guardian of their species, and it's really, really funny because obviously they keep cutting to this cat doing certain stuff, and some of it's actual cat, some of it's actual clearly a puppet. And when I'm seeing like a really fake paw touching glass, and it's this kind of, you know, all a cat fighting against kind of like the blob monster kind of thing, invasion of the body snatchers hidden type thing, it's really, really goddamn funny. I'm glad the film definitely picks up, because the first portion of that film is a bit hit and miss. It definitely takes a bit of time to kind of get the ball moving in a sense, and I'm thinking, oh no, is this going to be one of those films where it kind of saves all the good stuff from the last kind of half an hour? The third act of the film, it's only got a small budget, so it can't really do too much, and I was really, really worried because, you know, you don't do an alien film with a cat and then don't deliver on that. At least commit to it. But thank God, after the 35-minute marker, it just goes for it. The biggest star of this film, I have to say, is the practical effects, is the special effects, and is the puppetry work, because it is really goddamn good. Even for something that is, what, about 20 odd years old, nearly 30 years old now, it holds up pretty well. It looks pretty good. Obviously, it's clearly like, it is very obvious to a certain extent, but for the time, for the budget they had, it's pretty impressive. And I'll give a lot of Hong Kong movies credit when they do horror, when they do practical effects in some of these movies, whether it's like a Sammo Hung film or whether it's like a classic kind of creature monster kind of flick. They really are going for it, and they really are really inspired by, of course, Western audiences with The Hitcher and Terminator, and clearly ripping off elements from those films. It's got a little bit of that society kind of feel to it also, if everyone's done that, with the kind of like the body melding and melting and kind of molding into the kind of flesh of this kind of blob type creature. And it's pretty fun, it's pretty wacky, and you got this main character that's basically just indestructible. He's taking bullets, he's kind of armored up, kind of commando style, and he's just trying to seek out these kind of aliens, and he's just going for it, and it gets absolutely more ridiculous as the film goes along. And in terms of, like, you know, characters, in terms of story, it's a very simple story. It's basically just aliens. Good aliens are running away from an evil force that's basically taken over their planet. They've escaped to Earth, and they're basically trying to find a weapon to destroy the evil once and for all, and then go back home to where they came from, and that's practically it. Is there mythology? Not really. Does it make any sense? No. Is there interesting characterization? Is there interesting kind of dialogue play, like in some of these great kind of, you know, alien flick movies? No, not really. It's just very much a B movie. It doesn't try to be anything else, and I'll give it a lot of credit for that. When a film can commit, when a film can just go for it and just not worry too much about the small details, but worry enough about the fun entertainment aspect to it, that's when it gets me, and that's when it's like, I'll give it the round of applause. And one thing I will say straight away is that when a film is offering me a 15-minute long live action, special effects, puppetry work, stunt work, cat versus dog, action set piece, we are glorious! You get my seal of approval instantly. When I saw this sequence in this film, I didn't even know it was coming, because I went in this film blind. I didn't know much about the film, didn't see any trailers. Yeah, there is a full-on action set piece between these two elements, and it is amazing to watch. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's fun. I couldn't stop laughing when I'm seeing obvious kind of cat puppetry arms touching levers and dogs getting electrocuted and just backflips and shit. It's like my mind is exploding, and at least it has some kind of downtime to kind of let me process that, unlike Zulu Warriors, which doesn't stop being goddamn crazy.
Brilliant. I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
You've got this kind of Terminator aspect, you've got this cat versus dog aspect, and then it goes full on kind of from beyond, kind of, you know, society, the blob type thing with the kind of the third act of the film. It just gets more crazy as the film goes along. In terms of performances, in terms of characterization, they're just there. They're there to just, you know, fill the time. You know, one of the problems I will say about the film, it just kind of repeats itself quite a lot. There's a lot of scenes where it just repeat the same kind of dialogue, or there's an element of, we're making this up as we go along type thing, and it's like they're clearly not sure where the film is going, which is why I think the first portion of the film is a bit of like a restructure in terms of this kind of narrative, because I can tell they film stuff that's clearly meant to be a narrative, a clear, straight narrative, and it does curve that way towards the second half of the film, but the first half is very much by pieces, and I can clearly tell they filmed some stuff and it's clearly not gelling all together, or it doesn't make quite sense, or how do we go from this crazy scene to a completely normal scene. I also have to point out my room is going to be exactly like this if you recreate 88 films and Criterion just keep on pumping out these Hong Kong movies in this past year. I don't have much space left. So yeah, what else can I say about The Cat? It's classic B-movie, glorious nature, just... It's got a cat versus dog, action set pieces. It's got elements of the Blob, elements of Terminator. It really goes for that kind of Terminator-esque with the commando with kind of guns and grenades and just blowing up stuff and fire, and it's really, really funny. You've just got like a bonkers third act with like a very much like a Blob type sequence with like, you know, melting bodies and like skeletons and a bit of gore kind of thing. It definitely goes for that kind of 80s kind of a vibe to it, and it just kind of knows what it is, and I don't know if it's accurate to the source material. I don't know if it's, you know, well received, really, if I'm being absolutely honest, but hell, it definitely offered something, you know, a bit of fun for a kind of late night evening for myself. Hopefully Category 3 will continue doing this kind of choosable kind of, you know, releases they're doing. They're doing The Black Cat next, which I think is out in February, so hopefully this will be on the list for sure, because definitely that director's kind of film lineup is mostly Category 3, and just goes for kind of complete bonkers B-movie kind of nature, Hong Kong movies. And I can see a really nice premium edition for this film, and it'd be nice to get a nice HD version of you know, this film and see how it goes. That's been my review, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching. Have you seen The Cat? What did you think of it, guys? Is that for the reviews? Signing out.